What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you on a Tuesday with Touchdown Tuesdays. We got Mayhem Matthew. As always, we're simulcasting on both channels. I decided not to go live on Facebook today, but it'll be okay. We'll just do the YouTube channels, and we got a pretty interesting show lined up today. If we're being honest, we kind of decided to just kind of go along with some of the news and uh, recently announced was the SEC on CBS football schedule for this season. And also, we've had SEC spring meetings this week. What do you think, Mayhem?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm excited to see some of the scheduling that the SEC is going to bring. I'm a big SEC guy. I'm also a college football fan too. But I loved it. I'm a SEC homer, as everybody would know. But I'm really excited. To see how everything's going to play out. I think it's going to be an exciting couple of years, especially for the playoff expansion and stuff like that, and getting to see what other coaches talk about. It should be pretty interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. So the big news that I saw this morning was the question 8 or 9 games for the SEC because currently they play 7 games in the SEC when it comes to in conference play. But of course, you're going to add Texas and Oklahoma next season. So you'll have to add one more team. Now, not everybody is going to get a chance to play those teams next year, but they'll rotate it. And I think what they want to do is give Texas and Oklahoma a shot at every SEC team within a 5 or 6 year period, I would say. So that way they've played everybody and just keep it rotating. So Greg Sankey, the commissioner for the SEC this week, um, had said they are in favor of moving forward with Texas and Oklahoma. They are in favor of moving with the 8 or 9 game schedule. In fact, actually, according to multiple reports, as I read this, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has privately indicated to members that is in favor of moving to a 9 game schedule, and he has the fine take a public honor. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I've heard of obviously the 3-6-6 model, which would mean three permanent opponents and then play 6 teams, and then the next year play 6 teams. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 3 is 15, and then obviously that team would be the number 16 teams there. And then I've also heard of the 1-7-7 model, which means you have one permanent opponent, you play 7 teams one year, 7 teams the next year. That would be 15, and obviously you can't play yourself, so that will be 16. I'm hearing from On3 Sports that they are not going with the 3-6-6 model. They're pretty much going with the 1-7-7 model in the SEC, which would you would play everybody every 2 years. And then I'm pretty sure it'd be like a home and home, like normal. But um, I'm really excited. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the 1-7-7 model better than I do the 3-6-6, just because I like simple, right? I like things to be simple. I don't really like to complicate things. 3 rivals. Well, who's gonna be your 3 rivals? And then people are gonna be upset. Well, people are gonna be upset either way, but one. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't say anything. I'm just listening to you right now.
Uh, I like things to be simple. One rival, 7 in 1 year and 7 the next year. Keep it simple. Don't try to figure out, well, who's going to be their three rivals, who's going to be their three rivals, who's going to be their three rivals. And then you got, people are saying, well, why is, let's just say South Carolina gets Vanderbilt as a rival. Well, why is Vanderbilt my rival? We have nothing in common together. Just, have one rival. Georgia, like for example, Georgia would get probably Florida, right? That would be our one rival that we get every year. It makes sense. Georgia, Florida, obviously, right? Alabama gets Auburn. I guess Tennessee would have to get Vanderbilt. I guess you could make a case for where Tennessee would get South Carolina, I guess. I mean, I don't really know, but obviously you'd have your Texas and Texas A&M, or maybe you would have LSU and Texas A&M, and then have your Texas and Oklahoma play each other, so you still have that rival there. I like the 1-7-7 model myself.
I like it too, but I think the 3-6 format that they talk about, I'm going to read you from this article. It says, moving to the 3-6 format would allow teams to play each other with much more frequency. Moving to a 9-game schedule would also allow the SEC to preserve so many of its annual rivalries like Alabama and Tennessee, Auburn, Georgia, and even Texas A&M, which I'm excited for that to come back. I think as long as we can protect the big rivalries, because teams normally have 2 to 3 rivals a year. Let me put it in Alabama's case. Protect the Iron Bowl between Auburn and Alabama, number one. Number two, I would protect Tennessee. And then number three, I think we have to protect LSU too, because Brian Kelly and Nick Saban's getting pretty heated. And that's always been a good rivalry in the Nick Saban era. So I think as long as you can protect the rivalries, then outside of that in the conference, just rotate the other teams however the commissioner would like to do it. But like I said, I think I'd have to be in favor of the 3-6.
Well, the reason why I would not be in favor of, well, you always going to have some fan base that's going to be mad, right? Either way it goes. But for Georgia's sake, you can say, well, our three rivals would be for the SEC, Florida, Auburn, and South Carolina. I like the Border Bash myself, right? I love going to the Border Bash whenever I can in Augusta, Georgia. South Carolina versus Georgia rival there in the SEC. But you can also make a case where South Carolina has a couple of rivals in the SEC. South Carolina would have Georgia. South Carolina would also have like Tennessee. South Carolina would also have Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
But Tennessee, also Georgia and Tennessee, I mean, in recent history, I wouldn't say, well, I don't know, going back to whenever Georgia rushed the field after beating Tennessee that year, that was a big win for Georgia. I mean, Georgia and Tennessee has some history, so you can't protect everybody, right? And you're still going to play each other every 2 years. I mean, you would have played all the teams in 2 years, right?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, maybe you can make a case where you have 3 permanent opponents and go to a 9. Then that means you wouldn't play. You would have one less non-con game, or in some cases, you can say one less cupcake game, right?
Right.
I mean, I got a question, right?
Okay.
So would you like to see, like, for example, Georgia play in their keep the non-con schedule the same, have Georgia play, Oregon and versus Georgia, and maybe a different non-con like Miami versus Georgia, instead of having a 9, then Georgia has to. I mean, Georgia can't get rid of the Georgia Tech game. That would just be crazy to get rid of that. So Georgia would only have in a 9 conference schedule only 9, 10. So only like 2 non-con games to fill, and one of them's going to be a cupcake. So you only get to play one Power 5. Georgia would end up with like 11 Power 5 schools if they went to a 9 the 3-6-6 model, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I would like that. So every single year, nobody would be in my comment section talking about Georgia has a weak schedule. I would like that, because then I can say, well, we play 11 Power 5 teams, right?
Yeah.
But then again, if you do the 1-7 model, if you do the 1-7-7 model, you still get to play a little bit of cupcake games to get you prepared for bigger games. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Georgia last year played Kent State. Kent State runs a much smaller version of what Tennessee runs, their style of offense. They run a much smaller version of that, right? So Kent State helped us get ready for a team like Tennessee, and that's why we were able to shut it down so well. And obviously we have elite players all over the field, but it seemed like Georgia was the only team that could really stop it. Even South Carolina Gamecocks, they could not stop their offense. They just, scored way more points. That game was 63-38. So it ain't like South Carolina's defense held Hendon Hooker in that elite offense last year. Some people would call it a one-trick pony, but I think Georgia was the only one last year that really completely dominated that defense, and that offense, because of teams like Kent State that helped them prepare for later down the road.
I think it makes sense. I think I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say, though. Like, you play the in conference or the actual Power 5 teams because it can help prepare you for later games.
Yeah, I would give the argument that you play these, cupcake games. We talk about, playing cupcake games for a spring game, which I totally disagree with that. Why don't you put the cupcake games on your schedule, have a 1-7-7 scheduling model? You have one rival, 7 teams one year, 7 teams the other year. You can't play yourself, so that's 16 total. And you still get to keep your non-con games, schedule a Oregon or a Washington or something like that every year. And then you can still keep your Kent States of the world and your Bowling Greens of the world to help you prepare for bigger games. Because if you have an 11-game schedule where you're playing 11 games are Power 5 and only one is not Power 5, the amount of injuries that you would have playing Power 5 like that. Just imagine Georgia playing Ohio State as a season opener, and then playing only one non-con game, and then playing a gruesome schedule in the SEC. Let's just say you have with a 3-6-6 model. Let's just say you get Alabama, LSU. You pick up, Tennessee, and then Georgia, right? And then you play Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Man, you're gonna definitely. Nobody would come out of that schedule without a loss. Nobody.
It'd be pretty chaotic.
11 Power 5 teams and only
In a
one.
row too. I mean, these. You'll obviously get a bye week in there, but think about having to play those teams and go in those road environments back to back to back each and every week. I mean, you're going to be pretty banged up by the time the playoffs get here.
I mean, I just don't think it's good. I mean, you're play. What about teams like Missouri that have to play 11 Power 5 teams and only one Group of 5 team, or not even Group of 5, FCS team, right?
Yeah.
Man, Missouri wouldn't even have a team by the time they play Georgia.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this question. The way in which the SEC is going with their schedule, would you advise the other conferences to do the same because of their expansions too?
Rephrase that question.
Basically, we know that the SEC is bringing in two teams, Texas and Oklahoma. They're going to have to change the schedule and go to Let me take this. It's my grandmother. Run the show.
Well, let's give a recap of what I just said because I might have confused some people. So, 3-6-6 model would go as like this, right? You'd have 3 permanent opponents. Then you'd play 6 teams one year and then 6 teams the other year. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 3 is 15. You cannot play yourself, so that'll be 16 teams. So then that would be a 9-game conference schedule. That's 9 games, and then you'd have 3 more slots. So for Georgia's sake, you play Georgia Tech, which is a Power 5 team. That's 10 slots filled up. So you have 2 more. Let's just say you pick up an Ohio State. That's 11 Power 5 games that Georgia will be playing pretty much every single year. And then you pick up maybe a group of 5 or a non-group of 5 team. So in the 1-7-7 model, you would have 1 permanent opponent, and then you play 7 teams one year, 7 teams the next. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, and obviously you can't play yourself. That's 16. So you would still get to keep your non-con games open to play these group of 5 or FCS teams if you were to want to, right? And you can also schedule like an Ohio State, and it wouldn't be so gruesome because I do believe an SEC, whether you want to say that Georgia's schedule is hard or not, Georgia still plays week in and week out in the SEC. We have the hardest conference, and that's no debate there. So, playing in the SEC is hard enough. Going to an 11-game stretch where you're playing nothing but Power 5 teams would just make it that much harder. And playing then teams like in the ACC or Big 12 would have it just a little bit easier because let's face it, guys. The ACC is not as good as the SEC. We already know that. That's not anything that we don't know already. So it would just make it an easier path for different conferences like the ACC to probably make the playoffs. And I like the 1-7-7 model.
I like it too. Like I said, I mean, at this point with all the conference realignment, like what does it matter, how they do the schedule? I think as long as I just want to be clear on the record and say I'm a traditionalist, and as long as you can protect the big rivalries, like I said, I'll be okay. Like obviously, when Texas and Oklahoma come into the SEC, they're going to protect that game, the Red River Shootout. They're going to protect that. They want to protect Auburn, Alabama. They want to protect Georgia, Florida in the cocktail party, and they're going to rotate these teams. Like eventually, this is the whole point, and kind of what I got out of the schedule talks this morning. at least from what I read, is that they're still going to rotate it to where everybody plays everybody within a 4 to 5 year span, too.
Yeah, so I want to make a comment on Rec Talk's comment. He's saying that Georgia's schedule is not hard. Yes, finally we pick up an Alabama schedule. Finally, we pick up what I call an Alabama special. Okay, Alabama's been having them what you would call easy schedules every single year. Finally, Alabama has a hard schedule. Finally, Georgia has an easier schedule to go through. But remember this, Rec Talk. I will say this: if your team was good, then maybe we would have a harder schedule. How about Georgia Tech become a powerhouse in football so Georgia can have a harder schedule? How about that? How about Kentucky become a powerhouse in football so Georgia can have a harder schedule? How about Florida get back to the 90s so they can be good again? How about all these teams become good so Georgia would have a harder schedule? How about that?
I've been saying the same thing for a while too. I mean, it's not, first off, you got to think about this. You schedule these teams how many years in advance? 5 or 6, maybe, at a minimum. So you can't and you can only pick up so much in the non-conference outside of home and homes. And it's so hard to get a home and home series like right away. I get that Georgia's going to play teams like UT Martin or whoever this year and Ball State and Georgia doesn't want to play that. No, no one is willing to grow a set and go play a team like Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State or whoever outside of the conference teams they have to play.
I do want to the last comment he wrote. You were saying one thing, Kentucky was good. Now they're not. They are good. You're the one that's saying that Georgia's schedule is not hard. I'm defending Georgia's schedule. They are a tough team, but if you Rec Talk said that Kentucky was not a good team, so based off of what you said, how about these teams become good? And then Georgia would have a tough schedule. I don't think Georgia has the hardest schedule in the world. I don't. But they play in the SEC, and for the last couple of years, the SEC East has been the best conference. The SEC has been back-to-back national champions. So, yes, and for the past 2 years, the SEC East was better, had a better record against the West. So there you go. I mean, you laugh, but the SEC East, I don't even have to look it up because I know that the SEC East record versus the West was better. And if I'm wrong, then I'll admit it.
I mean, it was pretty good last year. I mean, Georgia went undefeated. Tennessee beat Alabama. I mean, it was good last year for sure.
Listen to me, Rec Talk. LSU was a 3-loss team in the SEC championship. Are you serious?
I mean, I'll say this. Let me pull this up. Let's look in the past a little bit, not too far back, where I mean, Georgia has been dominating the East. That's fair to say. But you've had teams like Auburn and LSU and Alabama come out of the West. I mean, Auburn came out at least in 2017 and tried to compete a little bit, and they were down. But LSU in 2019, LSU last year, Alabama a couple times. I don't know, man. I do think the SEC is the best conference in football. I think that's fair to say. I just feel like deeper division wise, I have to disagree with you and say the West. I just the recruiting, the talent, the schedule. I mean,
you're laughing because you know it's not true. The SEC East.
I think they're close together. I mean, it's hard to tell. It really is.
If we was doing the Touchdown Tuesdays in 2010, I would be saying the West is better. In
Right.
2023, the East is a better division.
Who else is outside of Georgia?
You have Tennessee. You have, well, like I said, if Florida would ever.
Do not say Florida.
Do
not say Florida.
Didn't they almost beat your Alabama Crimson Tide?
In 2020. We're talking about 2023 today. They got a new coach and they don't have a quarterback.
But you went back as far as 2017.
All right, fair point. Go on. I'll shut up.
The only teams in the SEC as a whole that have competed in recent years are Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and LSU. I would say Florida and Auburn are in the same situations right now.
Maybe. I mean, would you outside? Let's put Georgia and Alabama aside because we know they're the two best teams in the conference. Right? Let's go outside the box here. Let's start with LSU in the West, and let's start with Tennessee in the East. Go down those teams, and if you had to put them up against each other, who would win in the next 5 years total? Like, I mean, seriously, if the West had to go up against the East every year for the next 5 years, LSU, Auburn, Arkansas, Ole Miss. Ole Miss has dominant offense. Air Raid. What about Mississippi State? I mean, do you really think a team like Vanderbilt, do you really think a team like Florida or Kentucky would match up with those teams?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I understand that Florida is going to have a bad year this year. I get it. But in the next 5 years, I do not. I'm going to be honest with you. I do not see Florida being as terrible as they are now. They're not. I think a lot of this buffoonery that people are saying that Billy Napier is just a terrible head coach. He's been there 1 year, dude. 1 year, and he I'm pretty sure he had a winning record. Yes, he lost to Vanderbilt, but guess who else lost to Vanderbilt? Kirby Smart in his first year. What did he do his second year? Went to the national title with Jack Fromm as a true freshman. We did not have a quarterback. Eason, I believe, was hurt. That's why Jake Fromm got to start as a true freshman and led us all the way to a national championship versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. And you know what happened? We lost.
I will say this to a point. In the SEC East, before Georgia took over starting in like 2017 with Kirby Smart, okay, and I give them credit. Before that, it was all Florida since like 2008. Even after Tim Tebow left, it was still Florida. Except for South Carolina, like one time, and I think Missouri one time. Outside of that, Florida's won a lot.
All right, Rec Talk. You want to talk about they had a bad decade. How many coaches have Florida had in the past 10 years? Okay, Tennessee is good now. How many coaches have they had in the past 10 years? So what? I don't think Florida's going to be bad in 5 years. I don't. You got to give Billy Napier a chance. I think Billy Napier was definitely an upgrade over Dan Mullen. I think Billy Napier is an upgrade over any coach that they've had in the past 10 years. I do. I'm not a Florida fan. I wish they would go 0-12 every single year, but that's not going to happen. They're not going to stay a 6-6 team for the next 5 years. You're out of your mind.
What's up, Andy Cobb? Says tighten up. We're trying to, man. We're trying.
Florida's not good right now. You're right. They are trash doo doo, mush doo doo. But right now, South Carolina, Kentucky, Georgia, Tennessee, 4 teams are good right now. Right now. In the SEC West, you have Alabama, LSU, and Ole Miss. Arkansas is a dumpster fire. Mississippi State's not going to be as good as past years. Rest in peace to Mike Leach. But you're starting over with a new team, with a new coach, new philosophy. They're going to an air. They're getting away from the air raid. They're going to a different thing. You know.
Anyway, we're gonna continue SEC talk.
Well,
8 or 9
I
games.
want
We
to.
talked about it. Go
I
ahead.
want. I want to say one more thing too, right? You know, like I said about Mississippi State, you know, they're moving away from that the passing attack that, you know, Mike Leach had. They're going to something different there. And just like Georgia Tech, they got away from the triple option. And how many years did it take them to start being good? They haven't even proven that they're going to be good this year. I think that they're going to go 7-5, 8-4, just like Rec Talk. But I'm not over here trashing Georgia Tech because they've been bad for the last decade. But continue.
Yeah. I was just gonna say the next segment that I personally wanted to bring up, though. I thought it was interesting. CBS Sports, of course. I know we talk a lot and kind of give a lot of crap towards Gary Danielson or whatever, but they have officially announced the SEC football TV schedule and doubleheaders for 2023. So a couple of the games, South Carolina at Georgia is going to be a 3:30 game. Georgia, Florida, Missouri, and Arkansas. What's your thought? First off, I've never heard your thoughts on Gary and SEC. This is one of the. I mean, it's been around for a long time. The SEC on CBS. Big though, right? Because it's in ESPN supposed to pick us up.
Yeah, I think I thought last year was last year, but I think this year might be the last year of football SEC on CBS. But my opinion with Gary Danielson, he is definitely Alabama biased. Definitely for sure. That's really all the thoughts I got on him. But I would definitely say he is Alabama biased to a T. Yes, I would say that.
I think he has been at times for sure. Again, some of the games mentioned Georgia, South Carolina. They're going to have Air Force and Navy on CBS. Georgia, Florida, Missouri, Arkansas. What's great, they haven't announced the Iron Bowl to be on CBS. Maybe there's hope we could do a night game and get it on ESPN or something. Maybe that'll help. I say they put, I don't know what other SEC game on Saturday of rivalry week they'll put on there, but, well, no, I do know. You know what they should do? They should put LSU, Texas A&M as the 3:30 game that week.
Yeah. Speaking of night games and 3:30 games, I need Georgia. Georgia, if you're listening, schedule a night game this year, please, and thank you. Schedule a night game because your boy wants to possibly go to a night game. So if you want to ticket, please schedule a night game. Thank you.
All right.
And
what else you got for today, man? Go ahead.
I would like to see Georgia play more than just one night game. We played a night game at Mississippi State last year. I don't think in my memory, if my memory's messed up, let me know. But I don't think Georgia played a home game last year that was at night. So please, y'all need to schedule that. Um, you know, it would be a great night game. South Carolina versus Georgia. It's at Georgia, first SEC road matchup. Um, I think that would be awesome. Georgia versus South Carolina to open up the SEC for Georgia at night. That would be freaking awesome.
It would be. I mean, even Alabama played Vanderbilt last year at night. I was at that game, and they blew them out 55-0. I mean, it was fun to go to, but if you're watching it at home on the television, are you staying up for a game like that? I think that sometimes they get it wrong when it comes to the night games, but I get that they try to be fair and give everybody a chance.
I can't. Rec Talk says, when was Georgia's last PM home game? That's a good question.
'Cause they got some good lights in Athens, don't they?
Oh yeah. I remember whenever they played Notre Dame. I believe that was right before COVID. They played Notre Dame at home at night. That might be the last game that they played at home at nighttime. Georgia versus Notre Dame. They had the lights and everything. That was we had a home and home with Notre Dame. I think 2017 we went to Notre Dame, and then they came to us in 2019. So that might have been, because I don't remember 2020. I don't remember any night games in 2020, and then 2021. Let me see, 2021. I can't remember off the top of my head, but one night game that comes to mind is Notre Dame versus Georgia. So if I'm wrong, then. But Traveling Fool says there's no electricity in that dump. I mean, it's one of the best stadiums in the SEC. I know Brandon Walker says otherwise, but yeah, that's why he don't know much about Georgia. He hasn't been to a Georgia home game in probably 10 plus years. So I don't really. I wouldn't be taking anything that he says as a fact. How about that? I mean, 2016 spring game, we had 93,000 people there. This year, if you want recent years, this year, I went to the spring game and we had one side blocked off for construction, but out of the side that we had 50,000 plus. We packed it out. So that tells you something about Georgia's environment ever since Kirby Smart has came here. And look at Tennessee. Remember, guys, Tennessee versus Georgia. Tennessee fans were saying, "Well, Georgia's really not a great, environment. It's not a true road game." They were saying all the same crap that the rest of college football and Brandon Walker saying, and they found out pretty good whenever 93,000 people showed up, and it sounded like over 100,000. And Jalen Hyatt in the press conference, they were saying, "Oh, we couldn't even hear Hendon Hooker. We couldn't even hear the plays that are being called. We had to go to a silent count. We was not prepared for this. We was not thinking that it was going to be like this." They really showed up and showed out in that game, and I believe the 12th man was there for sure. I've said this. This is the last time I'm going to say this. Brandon Walker says that Florida is a better road game than Georgia. Would you rather play Georgia at night, or would you rather play Florida in the Swamp at night? I would much rather play Florida in the Swamp at night. Kentucky has no problem playing in the Swamp at night. According to Rec Talk, Kentucky's just terrible. So, terrible teams, according to Rec Talk and other people, don't have a problem beating Florida in the Swamp. But I'm sure you would have a tough time beating Georgia at home. And what's our record at home since Kirby's been there? I think we only have a couple of losses. The last time we lost at home was 2019 versus Carolina, and that was not a night game. So I rest my case there. Georgia's probably number 2. I'd say number 2 in the SEC environments there. I'd say LSU is definitely number 1, Georgia 2, Alabama 3, Tennessee 4. After that, it becomes a pick 'em after that. I'd probably say Florida, and then after that, yeah, it really becomes a pick 'em after. Maybe Auburn, then Florida, and then after that, it's a pick 'em. Actually, South Carolina after Florida, but after that, it really does become a pick 'em. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we have such great teams in the SEC, and I'm really proud that I'm an SEC fan. And I agree, Rec Talk. Gainesville, Florida is a dump. It is. I wouldn't have said that maybe 10 years ago, but now it's really just become a dumpster fire there. But they're not always going to be bad. Florida's not always going to be bad. Auburn is not always going to be bad. These teams that are down now are not always going to be down forever. And South Carolina is not always going to be this good either. So it changes from time to time. And Rec Talk, Georgia Tech's not always going to be a 8-win team every single year either. So be happy that y'all might win 7 or 8 games in the next couple of years. So because y'all going to go back to poverty after that. So
Yep.
But I wanted to talk about, I seen Uncle Lou live last night on the Lunch Money Show. Shout out to Uncle Lou and Pigskin Pete. The best two to do it out here on YouTube. But they were talking about delusional fan bases. I want to just do top 5 delusional fan bases of 2023. I want to start from 5 and work my way up to number 1 because everybody already knows my number 1. That's kind of stupid to tell my number 1 right now. I mean, I guess we could do number 1 to 5, but what would be your list of delusional fan bases?
That's a tough one. I think, man, I gotta say Georgia. No, I'm just kidding. I actually have to start off with I'd probably say Tennessee. Tennessee's always been obnoxious, man.
Well, Tennessee to me has been obnoxious just because they started being good last year. It reminds me.
But here's the thing: even when they sucked and they weren't that good, were they not obnoxious saying this is the year that guys, this is where it's going to happen? And it never did.
Yeah. Hendon Hooker was in an interview, and Hendon Hooker said that he expects Joe Milton to win the Heisman and Tennessee to bring home a national championship this year. That's pretty delusional, if you ask me.
I mean, I do believe anything's possible in college football, but I also believe in facing reality and, having the right expectations. That's pretty delusional.
And I'll tell you a team. I'm going to go ahead and tell the team. My number 1 delusional fan base this year is Florida State.
Oh, man.
They think they are winning the ACC title this year. They think they have a chance to get in the playoffs. They think that they got an easy ride down there, which they might have an easy ride down there. But remember, North Carolina is way. And remember, Clemson is definitely making the playoffs this year. You can sign, seal it, and deliver it, okay? Clemson is making the playoffs this year. Nobody's going to compete in the ACC with Clemson. North Carolina's probably going to go to the ACC championship. I know Rec Talk to hear that, but it'll be a rematch between Clemson and North Carolina. North Carolina's better than I don't care what you say. I don't care if you say Florida State's returning 100% of their team. Well, guess what? Last year they went 9-3, and guess where they didn't go? They did not go to the ACC championship. So, you return all your players. So what? Mississippi State last year, last offseason, returned like 90% of their offense. And what happened to them in the SEC? They were nowhere to be found. They lost to one of the worst Alabama teams I've ever seen in my lifetime since '07, and 30-6. So there.
I get it. I'm gonna have to. You know who really gets on my nerves?
What's that?
And I'm not even gonna say it because of playing them this year again. How can I say Texas gets on my nerves?
Well, I'm kind of, growing up in college football and hearing Texas is back, Texas is back, Texas is back, kind of get used to it, right? Like Miami, right? Miami and Texas, Miami and Texas are always back. So I guess it really don't bother me. They're like one of them little baby brothers that you have. They're not all the way there yet, so you just have to, put up with them.
Yeah, I got you.
So, I mean, that really don't bother me too much. Yeah, FSU being ranked number 3 in the ESPN Top 25 is definitely a big joke. I have them in the real rankings, my rankings. I have them like number 14, 13 or 14. That's about where they need to be until they can prove that they're ready to be number 3. Remember whenever Tennessee was number 1 for 4 days? Man.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
A time to be alive.
And remember whenever Florida was ranked after beating a top 10 Utah team, they were ranked inside the top 15
for a week.
They had no reason to be there.
Right.
And shout out to Fishing Football. I love me some Fishing Football. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. He's amazing. But he was trying to tell me that Florida deserved to be in the top 15 after beating number 7 ranked Utah, barely, by the way. And I said, no, you don't. And, well, guess what happened? Florida is mush doo-doo, like we already talked about. And, well, what did I say? I told you so. I told you so, right?
Yeah.
Florida didn't deserve to be top 15. Are you serious?
I'm trying to think of other teams out there that are. I mean, it's fair to say there's a difference between delusional and annoying. Like, delusional fan bases are annoying, but not all annoying fan bases are delusional. I'm gonna list some annoying fan bases, but I don't think they're delusional. Like Ohio State. Okay, they have expectations. Get out of here. There's a bug. Anyway, they have expectations of winning the Big Ten. They have expectations of a national title, and they've been on the brink of one for a while. It seems like they're just annoying. They're not delusional. Michigan, they're starting to get up there. They're starting to get annoying with me a little bit. I think they need to hurry up and win a playoff game.
Michigan is like the new Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Think about it. Can't win a playoff game. They're going to be there for a while. They're fixing to fall off.
See, they're like the new Oklahoma. Their head coach is always flirting with different teams. Just like Oklahoma's Lincoln Riley were flirting with USC.
Yeah.
I feel like Michigan is like the new Oklahoma, which I do think Oklahoma is going to be much better than they were this past year. I do believe that. Oklahoma To me, Oklahoma. To me, this is my opinion. You know, Texas, ever since 2016, was every single year has been favored to win the Big 12. Since then, they have
Every
won
year?
every single year
Oh my God.
has been favored to win the Big 12. Since then, they have won 0. Now they are favored to win the Big 12 again, and I think that streak continues. Um, I think the first year that Texas is not favored, well, they're going to the SEC, so I guess we'll never see them win a Big 12 title. But I do think Oklahoma could possibly go out with a Big 12 title. I'm really high on Oklahoma. I'm high on Baylor. I think last year was just an anomaly. I think they have a really good head coach. They should not have been that bad last year. I think Baylor finds a way to get somewhere in the Big 12 title picture.
Oh my God.
What do you mean, oh my gosh?
I mean, they'll be better, but I don't know. You said you're high on Baylor. You're high on something. I mean, I don't know about them making the Big 12 title this year. I just don't,
Come
man.
on.
I'm gonna say Texas and Kansas State.
Kansas State lost pretty much the bulk of their offense last year with their running back. Wouldn't you agree?
I guess so. They also returned some production on defense. Then again, so does TCU.
TCU lost,
I mean,
TCU lost 8 players to the NFL draft, which was third most behind Georgia and Alabama.
QT says Texas Tech should be good.
Oh yeah, Texas Tech's gonna be good. Yeah, I agree with that.
They're going to be improved. I'll call them an improved team. I'm not going to call them great. I'm not going to call them elite or anything like that.
Texas Tech could be an 8-9 win team.
They're a Big 12 dark horse.
Yeah, I agree. But I think last year was an anomaly for Baylor. Baylor should have beaten TCU. That was a walk-off field goal that happened. I think Baylor just had some weird games last year that they probably should have won. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the West Virginia game that they were up like 14 points and West Virginia came back and beat them. It's just a lot of weird stuff happened last year for Baylor. I think they get back to winning 9 and 10 games like they did the year before with Dave Aranda. Dave Aranda is a very good head coach, and he's too good to be only winning 6 games. So for that alone tells me that Baylor's going to be somewhere in that Big 12 title picture.
I like it.
But Randy Payne, nice to see you in the chat. He says, "Go Dogs!" From Tifton, Georgia. Go for 3 and 23. You got it. You're back-to-back world champions. Go Dogs! I say, go Dogs as well. And Twisted Rooster, I got a great haircut. Look, everybody, if you like the haircut, smash the thumbs up, okay? This is an amazing haircut right here. This is not a barber channel, but man, this is as good as Georgia's National Championship trophy, don't you think? Yes, it is, sir. Yes, sir.
Dog fans pissed me off.
Huh?
Nothing. Continue.
But anyways, but yeah, I like my barber. I didn't go to Vic's barber, but I went to actually I went to a barber that cut my hair a long time ago when when I was a young kid, and I just now went back to them. So, but pretty good haircut in that. I really had a good day. Also, more content is coming on the Mayhem Matthew channel, Eat 'em Dogs. So please turn on the notification bells for that. Actually, as soon as we get off of here, probably gonna go record that video and edit it and throw it up there, and it should be a banger. So, please be prepared for that. It's going to be a good one. I expect it to be a great one. That's why I haven't really uploaded in the past few days, because I want this next video to be an amazing video for y'all. I don't want to put up crap. I could throw up a video every single day and it just be some crap and lose subscribers. I want bangers. I want really good content for y'all. So, if you have to wait a few days for me to put out a video, at least it'll be a good one whenever it gets put up, right? So please continue to support me like y'all have been. I really appreciate everybody that has subscribed to my channel. I do not take it for granted, everybody that has subscribed, I really appreciate it. I'm at 340, and please get Ballard, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Get Ballard to 1,000 subs, man.
It's a mountain, bro. And as you climb that mountain to 1,000, it gets harder and harder and harder. I promise you.
Yeah, Ballard has some really good content, and you should go check it out. And hit the thumbs up. And I appreciate it, Twister. He said, he I appreciate it, Rec Talk as well. They say hit the thumbs up. And Brandon Schutz, he's
What's
new.
up, Brandon?
He's a new guy. So, how y'all doing? How you doing, Brandon? There's some new names on here. Randy Payne.
Well, I haven't seen Randy Payne. I've seen QT. Brandon's on my channel though. Brandon watches me at least.
Yeah,
I see
but
him every
what
once
I'm
in a while.
saying is, like, in recent memory, I've seen Randy Payne before on my channel, and I've seen QT on the last Tuesday's episode we had, but before that, I haven't seen any of these names. So, and what's up, LW? I haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, you got any last words? I think we're gonna go ahead and call it a day.
Yeah, man, another great show. A little bit of debate and some conversation, but it's all good. And I just love all you guys, and y'all know what to do. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and hit that thumbs up. Smash it on your way out, man. Don't just hit the thumbs up. Knock the hell out of it. How about that?
Yeah, and my last words from a Georgia fan: Go Dogs.
Roll Tide. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.